going to open up those kuahas to allow us to walk in and do the kaupapa unmolested. It's the mana of our kaumātua that are going to see that te whare runanga will be the whare whakameninga moving forward. We don't need to build a whare to whole whakameninga hui. There's already one. We just need to take it. The te awas, it was built for our purposes. Taurangatira. Taurangatira there was a raupatu of whenua back in the day. Hobson gave that whenua back to our kaumātua, our rangatira, as a waiting. To me, that's an insult. You wait down here until we're ready for you up there. Because the mahi was all done up the top. And that's how Taurangatira came about. Taurangatira itself was put there by our people, but in the 1960s. And not to takahi whatever we believe can happen there or happens there. But when you're talking about politics and the chronological timelines that happened in order to undo the kupenga that traps us in a foreign system, you need to understand the steps that they took, because this is not a Māori created incident, kaupapa, take. It was created by Pākehā, by a Pākehā system. And you must understand the Pākehā ways of doing things in order to undo those knots of that kupenga that hold us bound to the system. And so I really like the way that someone said it earlier on, where there's law and law. L-A-W, L-O-R-E. L-O-R-E meaning tikanga. We've got two different bodies. One that understand LAW in order to whawhai the nangara out of Poneke and i Tāwāhi, and the collective of rangatira that sit together to hui rangatira around tikanga and what that is. Because there's no one more fitted for the job. And that's how we start to work together. Everybody has their roles and understands their roles and responsibilities. And we start to plan what is our next step. And we take one step together as a kotahi. We take another step after we achieve that, and we start to walk together and doing things as a kotahi. It starts to become habitual. Aroha mai, if I'm rambling, I thought it was a good idea to scroll through TikTok until the birds started chirping. So I suppose there's plenty of things that I've missed. However, for moving forward, there's the hui on the 20th. And that's to talk to the Waitangi National Trust Board in relation to opening up the doors. The other part to that is having our kaumātua together in order to give that awhi tautoko, that it's not just a random body going to say, hey, this is what we're up to. It's actually, but we're not actually asking for permission, we're just, sorry, 10 o'clock, go to the top gate, and to the top gate, go to the front door, go in and see the staff, and they'll direct you to the boardroom, 10 o'clock, Tuesday.
Where's that, at the cop board?
Yeah. The museum bit, and now you go upstairs and you go around into the building. So that's happening at that time. The conversation with Ricky Few has already happened. Correspondence from the Navy So they won't interfere unless requested to interfere by the Pirihimana. And the Pirihimana have already stated that if we uphold exactly what we've regurgitated to them through our correspondence, that there should be no issues. And so we've gone out and shared their corridor on multiple platforms, and others coming from the southern end of coming north are aware of these Kawakawa Hui to come in peace. One of the things we do see, especially on a lot of social media platforms, is a lot of rage baiting by the crowd to our ramakai. And our ramakai are getting quite aggressive. And this is just a personal opinion of mine. But a lot of our rangatahi don't see leadership in Te Kāinga. And so, because there's not a lot of leadership or some moral standards, they look to where the leadership is coming from, which is at this kind of company, or the trust bodies and the like. And when you couple trust bodies with this kaupapa, only India can come to. Any partner? I feel like I'm rambling now.
It sounds like the police ringing you and getting a hold of you, and that they're worried about there's going to be an upset. It sounds like a replay of what they do with the Treaty of Waitangi every year, priming the flagpole. Every year when they did the march, it was who had the mana to run up and pull down their flag and raise the tino flag. So now they're worried about that happening with the whakaputanga flag, when it should have been automatic. Like if I can just remember the days with Selwyn Clark, every Waitangi, they sat on the edge of where the flagpole was there. The commander and the Rangatira sat on the point, they threw their own flagpole up, and every other flagpole, and it increased every year. I don't know whether you saw every time you come to Waitangi, they sat there with their claw eyes on the corners there, their own flagpole. They let those other ones go, and we watched them turn up on the march, and then we'll have that big hui around the flagpole. But what the Whakamininga did was they sat there quietly, peacefully, in their own little corner of the world, and when they did the 21 gun salute, they stood. And that was their recognition of the Whakamininga being there. Was it a 21 gun salute? Automatic. It should be automatic. So, the police are trying now to recreate that the Whakamininga sort of stuff is going to be a repeat of what's been happening in Waitangi all these years. Not forgetting that the Whakamininga was actually turned away from the bottom marae, locked out. There's all that's still got to be addressed here.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, that was years and years we did that.
Right, there's a lot of hope and all that needs to happen.
Well, I think what I'd like to say is that we can put our own flagpole up. You don't need their one. Why do we need their flagpole to fly our flag? Fly your flag on your body. Fly your flag outside on your room and mailbox. That's what we do. Fly it at home. Why are we worried about Waitangi? It's already got its historical pathway there. We're talking in our territorial hapu. So if you're going to do hapu, go back to your hapu, fly your flags, do your business, come back and talk as rangatira. Because in our research that I've been with, since I've been working with Bundy and all the years with Selwyn, that's been the message all the time. Just go home, do your thing within your hapu and your marae is the key. Take it out of the land court. Get just rid of yourself from the thing. We've been trying to get to Harper to do the same thing. Every time we go back to Reed, it's the same thing. Take out the line. They're building a new one. Well, when you build a new one, we're taking back the whole one. And it'll be just what it should be. So we have to start utilising what we know. When you use the flag, you fly your flag everywhere you go. Put it on your car. Reminds them.
Oh, absolutely. Take
You
a
know,
walk.
once a year, we're going to go historically and start doing all these marches and doing all these things. It's just a repeat of, we're regurgitating the Waitangi drill and play. It's like a play.
There's a military protocol that takes place, and it's an important one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're part of the military, it's an important one.
Absolutely.
Okay, so to eradicate any hara, you know, it's not a problem. It really isn't a problem. You know, I'm saying if we're gonna have, if we go through the right channels, and I hear you've been talking to the Navy. Well, I would like to know who in the Navy, because I haven't had anyone come back to me. Yeah, you know, and the military protocol is important for us as well as for everybody else. Because it's that understanding that goes way back, Queen Victoria. And as you know, the lady who's in charge of that there is the Governor General. And I'm sure the Governor General can get our flag up there without any other to us. If it's done in the appropriate manner. And this is what I say when we talk about our Kawakawa Hui HWP. That is what the old people have now said. Kore waia. And no we keep the kanori on mama to the mama. Hey, so we bring it back, and I tell you, because the first people who will be asked about things and as to what's going on, I hear you, I hear what you're saying. You know, the big question will be when they talk about Waitangi. Hey, now that is important and should be important to us all.
So,
Probably just to clear things up, just explain what they said to you, that they agreed to do this with regard to the flag and that'll cut out all the political.
yeah, whatever. And apologies again because I shouldn't have stayed up all night. So why is it important to go to Waitangi? It's important because it's a symbolic reference to Pākehā authority, and we need to use our authority to capture that. Why is the flagpole? It's absolutely critical because there is the War of Law records and the international flag editing process that needs to be attended to. And so when I say that we've done our money and done all the paperwork we really have, and I suppose I should touch on that. It's important because yes, we can fly our flags at home, in our cars, on the sidelines, but that doesn't address the issue. And so we needed to create a constitutional crisis. And so I practice this. I use my freedom, my house, and my land as a testing platform. I almost got divorced over it, but so we went to court. They said, we're going to take your house, your land, your everything like that. I said, right. And so what I did is I created a constitutional issue. And I created an issue, and what ended up happening is I created what is called a judicial paralysis, because they couldn't adjudicate on a matter that to where they derived their authority from. So that you had to go higher. The only higher than the judicial system is the Governor General, and Charlie, and us. And so we are the only ones that can create a constitutional issue in this country. So I created one. The judge then tried to reserve Right? And I said, well, you can't do that. You can't. All you could do is stay the proceedings until the constitutional issue has been taken place. And I stamped my hand, he stamped his thing, and that was the end of it. So what it does is he can't touch my land, no one can, until the kaupapa has been addressed. So now we know that if we create a constitutional issue nationally, then they can't touch anything until they have dealt with the issue. They cannot exercise an authority that they assume to have until the issue has been dealt with. That's where the international flag etiquette process comes in, because the flag etiquette is jurisdiction. And you hear a lot of kaupapa, there's sovereignty and jurisdiction, imperium and dominion. They're two different things. One makes the laws, one is the law area. And that's what the colour is, that's what a flag process is. Now, if we're going to touch on the flag, then 1835, we know that our tupuna chose a flag. Black fimbre, all the beautiful trimmings, everything like that. Sent that kōrero over to New South Wales. New South Wales government changed it. It's that kōrero in the corner here. At the bottom, it says St. George Cross on a white ground. First quarter is red, St. George Cross on a blue ground with a white
Fibrillation.
And they changed it from an 8-point to a 5-pointed star. You weren't the sovereign at that time in 1835. We weren't even talking sovereignty until 1840. Our tupuna were the only sovereigns at that time. We were the only ones. And we have the records to show that they said no one speaks for our flag but ourselves. We do not acknowledge the flag that you chose for us. And so that's the flag that they raised, that they lowered, sorry, to assume that everybody agreed that we had just ceded sovereignty and they raised the Union Jack. And it wasn't. And then it was that way all the way till the Boer War, till they realised that they couldn't take the British Union Jack, otherwise they'd be exposed to the British as what they'd done. So they had to revert it back to the de facto flag, if they were a fraudulent flag. And then they came back, and that's why when you see the Boer War medals got the white from them, that's the one that they sent home. Then 1902, the 1902 flag etiquette process was to remove the assumed flag and replace it with the Yachting Club flag today. Each of those last two flag etiquette processes, there was no international flag etiquette process done for either of those. And acknowledged to be so in the British records. And it's the reason when you send over a copy and say, hey British, your people over here, they say, oh, go speak to the Governor General, they are not us. There's a separation because of the jurisdiction. They're over here, they did nothing. It was the New Zealand company that did all these things. And when you understand the historical timelines, you see that there's the British, Māori, and a third party. It's the third party that did all the nonsense. We'll be here all night and the day to talk about the third party. But we can definitely get you that maipauranga to go over it every time if that's what you want. Also just highlighted to the fact that our email list is not adequate. So I'd really like if everyone could write their email down, all the kaumātua, to write your emails down so that when Kairataki have executed a mahi, it gets CC'd to all parties, all relevant parties, so that everybody's aware of what's going on. But there is, and you know, how does the Kairataki work? The Kairataki is a representative of each hapu, or your kaumātua will put you forward, and we do the administrative work. Not only do you do the mahi, but it's your responsibility to go home to your hapu and let them know what's going on in this space. And it makes it very difficult if you don't have a kaiarataki here for us to go around and inform everybody else as to what's going on. And it's really hard because we come to Wakameninga Hui, and when we regurgitate kōrero, that's first your taringas. And so how are we supposed to get tautoko from kaumātua that have never heard it? This is the first time they're hearing the kōrero? It's unfair.
Because each kaumātua for the hapu will take their own kaiarataki.
Right. Right.
And until that's established, like the first hui we have all kaiarataki for the kaumātua that it was, or the rangatira that are presenting that hapu, well that kaumātua will tell you who their kaiarataki is, rather than having one to suit everybody.
No, that's not, each hapu has their own.
That's right.
Yeah, each hapu has their own.
So we're not reliant on
Reliant on that.
what you do, because what your notes you're taking and what notes we take
Maybe
may
different.
be different.
And the other thing, it takes us back to the very first part of the conversation, is that we've been divided for so long when we need to cut it out.
Sorry for interrupting, but it's only while it comes up.
Yep.
So what's happened over the years is people have come to our hui, have recorded and even done documentaries and photographs and interviews and have run away with that kōrero, knowing very well they were told, you come and interview any of our kaumātua, you bring it back. Now there are people out there, they know who they are, that have got all this film footage of years of kōrero from our kaumātua, and they're refusing to give it back.
And I find that happens
that's why you have to have it right.
in the multiple groupings. And one of the sad things for my hapu a couple of years back was, because it took me 10 years for Tūri Roro to entertain a conversation about the wakaputa. And when we started to talk about it, they say, oh, what's wakameninga are you talking about? Because there's this wakameninga over here, there's wakameninga over here. And, now that there was a divide from this kaupapa, now there's a wakameninga down in Tairangamona.
Well, that's because it became known, because there are a lot of people like you that have started speaking out over the years, and they're starting to catch on. So
Right.
people are learning and they're getting educated.
And this is why it's a
And
great
that's why you
time
see a lot
to
more what you see now.
execute this money, because
Yeah.
it's been exposed, and people are starting to talk, even in Parliament they're having these conversations. But a lot of them still haven't done their due diligence to understand what this kaupapa is. They wear te kara, they don't understand that there's a kaupapa attached to it. And it's pre-written, but they still go to Google,
Yeah, they changed it.
and then they think that Google's telling the truth.
Ngahi pātai. So I'd just like to talk about the different wakameninga. And wakameninga is a gathering, a hapu. Wakameninga on a hapu. So yeah, there might be one down south, a wakameninga. That gathering is a hapu. They can call themselves a wakameninga if they like. Up here, yeah, there's one that is specifically for the purpose of framing laws of the mahuri, right? And so that is that wakameninga's purpose. Now, there's something that hasn't been spoken, is that there are new hapu. And why are there new hapu? Because maybe our existing hapu don't get it. And some of the members within that don't understand about He Wakaputanga. And we don't want to go down there, we've done all that protest stuff before, whatever it might be. So hapu, as some of you may know, have separated and started a new hapu and proclaimed to He Wakaputanga. They've noticed the crown, everyone, yes, we are this hapu now. So within some of us, for me, Ngāti Kuta, however, because Ngāti Kuta haven't got their stuff together, I joined another hapu, Ngāi Te Ao, which is Minia Walisi, many of you know. So we work from that. Now, because of what has been happening in the past, as an example of in-house fighting, all this sort of stuff, there are those of us who just want to get on with it. and move forward and look at solutions. Yes, we know what Timothy's talking about, the importance of establishing, or not establishing, of reclaiming our jurisdiction from an international perspective, right? So that it's acknowledged. So we need to know as a jurisdiction, what do we need to have set up for that? That we are internationally recognized, and there are some protocols around that that we get accepted by the other countries as a state, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And so that's where, yes, the collective capacity is helpful. So that's why some of us have split from our hapu, not in a whānau sense, we still get on with our whānau, but they don't get it, so let's move ahead and work on solutions. So some of the hapu that, we have over 20 hapu that are working together. We have collectives that are non-Māori that are under the korowai and supporting and helping and working together, helping with food farms, forests and stuff, and helping with other things together. So we, since 2016, when it was established, have continued to move forward. And yes, when Raru happens, we're starting to recognise He Waka Pūtanga soon sorts people out. They expose people because of the wairua, right? The wairua is there watching the whole time, our tūpuna, and they're going, oh no, this is not tika here. And then next minute, oh, something comes up, and sure enough, it's exposed. So since I've been back up here from 2021, I've immersed in all this and learnt a lot about it, and have an understanding that there are those that are in some ways caught in the past too, without thinking about the future solutions. And even our own hapu, they're only just starting to go, well, what do we actually want as a hapu? What do we have? What can we create? Whereas other hapu, they're already building their papakainga, they're doing all these other things. So we are sharing our templates, our matauranga with each other to awhi each other, not to be putting each other down within these new hapu, because we're, in some ways, how can you say, it's not the colour of our skin, it's the colour of our wairua. And when the colour of our wairua is the same, we can work together. Yes, there are people who are against that, but that's because of their lack of knowledge, the education, the ignorance in some regard, right? And so we know the second thing aside from jurisdiction is education, right? How do we get, like you were saying earlier, what's the kororo that we know is tika, that we can then get to all these rangatahi that have got their social media out there, all those sort of things, so that we can start feeding them what's right. Yeah, and then they can, all of a sudden, these Pākehā out there who are Hobson wedged and others, they start to think, oh, maybe this Hobson's wedge stuff is, or plague, whatever you want to call it, is not tika, you know, maybe. And so that's the advantage of us also. And I said to one of our collectives of non-Māori the other day, you guys are so important because you understand what we're doing. And if we say to Pākehā, oh, this is blah, 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 they'll be go, oh, whatever. But if you say, they'll take it on more. So this is, for us, it's looking at how we can work together collectively to establish that true collective capacity, right? And what's the tikanga of that? Because we have tikanga in our own hapu, but when we come together at Waitangi or the Wakaminenga and the Nahuru, hiaha tikanga. You know, what is that there? Do we have that established? Are we helping other hapu that perhaps have been lost, like we said earlier? How do we help them to revitalise their hapu? You know, remind them around what maybe their tikanga is based on their whēnau, their taio. So, yeah, is there a question?
Yeah, I think that question can be answered very simply. When you're talking about hapu and new hapu, they live in a community. And what's in the community? Your marae. There's 900 marae, 900 communities with tikanga. That's where it's got to be taught.
Aye, but how
The
much
marae,
of that?
You go back to the marae.
Yeah, and you go to the marae, and I've been to the marae, and I see the tikanga. I see the tikanga being abused, not upheld. I see that, and that's not in every marae, right? But I see that in marae that I've been to.
Well, it's up to that hapu to fix that marae.
That's right.
It's not up to us.
That's right.
I think we're going off the track. The question asked was, what did the police say that would give comfort to the kaumātua here about the raising of the flag, the discussion. So before you answer, the discussion to that, because I want to get clear in my head, when I go on Tuesday, I want to know exactly what I said prior to this week. So when I stand up, I'm talking straight from what I've heard, and not get shut down because, oh, hey, where I put it.
Yeah, you chose to speak on that day, or
Pardon?
is it open? I thought we were talking about selecting two speakers.
So that is for,
What you were gonna say, you
that
were
is
gonna
for
say.
February the 6th.
Aye.
There's never been speakers up there that speak what they want on. I'm not going there to speak on, I'm going there to ask questions.
Come on.
Okay,
It's
so,
just I'm getting the dates mixed up, there's February, there's the 28th, there's this.
Okay, thank you.
You know, the fact remains that you're going across the.
Okay, Martin, so we just let him answer the question first.
right, so, the Pirihimana themselves are satisfied that we are not harming anyone with the processes that we have laid before them. We laid it before the motu. We ensured that there's a paper trail to everything that we did. The last publication in the New Zealand Herald cost $2,900. It was a big publication, and it was pieces of information like that that we bring together to create this paper trail in order for people to see what we're doing, so that we can provide evidence to what we are doing, so that we don't get tarnished with the abuse and disrespect of others and those that come and choose to disrupt the kaupapa. So the Pirihimana were satisfied with what we were doing. The Navy have no objection. Waitangi through Carla White and another individual have given tautoko for down the bottom and support for the Waitangi treaty grounds. And we're waiting for a kōrero back from the Ahikara o Pororaro to raise the kara over there. So in relation to the flying of the flag at least, and on the grounds that only Te Kara will be raised, no other flag, not the Governor General flag, not the Yachting Club flag, not the Union Jack, just the Kara. It's already been spoken to and given tautoko by the relevant parties that oversee that space. We're just waiting on the Waitangi National Trust to have that conversation. The tūmanako is that they jump on board too, and then we can operate under less. If not, then we have to figure this out, use our kaumātua influence to huri their whakaros. Because the influence comes from our kaumātua. Whether we like it or not, they are our unofficial leaders. You know, when you have kapiti kōrero, all kaumātua says, I'm the rangatira around here. But when you get them in front of the people, all quiet. And then there's very few that actually do stand. And you know, tū rangatira. And those are the ones that we're asking of our kaumātua to go and gather up, not just for the hui on Tuesday, but for the hui, the first Nahuru hui was booked in for the 29th to the 31st of January. That was really to solidify our spacing, to solidify the pautikanga of the kaupapa o te wakamenina, and the process between the 1st and the 6th of February. How's it going to take place? Who's going to speak? What is going to be said? Those initial kōreros. To be able to execute the kaupapa, to put the mana back in our position, and the authority to create change. And then we come back and we have another ngāhuru hui to say, okay, where to from here? That now that we have the ability to create change. Because all the parties have been recognised, it's an ignition And once that key is turned, you can't unturn it. So yeah, it's the international recognition, the box ticking processes as the whanaunga was talking about here, those things have been done. And
There's one thing, Timuru, that I heard in Kuroro that come up around with what's happening with the National Trust in Waitangi was that the concern about whānau working there.
yes,
And so looking forward, has there been kororo about how that could be addressed if forward was someone come and go, oh, well, you know,
well, that was a kōrero that the Kairataki have had, about 3 or 4 conversations around that, because of the nature of how the last hui went down, and it wasn't nice. Also went home to Tiuriroro e Poroti, and I declared there that my kaumātua kuia will not step a foot on Tauranga Tura or Te Tii Marae until such time as they provide a clear message on, and pathway on how they provide safety for our kaumātua kuia, because that was disgusting. And although we tried to ho te rongo, that's 5 consecutive hui that we've been to Waitangi and violence has occurred. And that's not the first time. I remember about 3 years ago in Mangamuka, we had another young bucky turn up there with a tokotoko throwing it around, acting like a he-man. But yes, just to answer your question, we have spoken to that. And, you know, the initial kōrero started, well, even if they did fire them, they're firing them for fault. And so, you know, that's a lawsuit that they just don't want. You know, any law firm will be happy to pick up that unfair dismissal and win.
and I suppose that's the kororo to get across to them that helps to, you know, poho te rongo, their whakaaro as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's still about managing relationships with Waitangi, because obviously they're the ahika. However, what we've found is the ahika assumes to have the final say in what we're in a business. But we're just a collective of hapu that hui, and then we give the mana over to them to make the decision. And no matter how many times I have talked to them, they refuse to see it any other way. And so that's why I call them gatekeepers. It's because year after year after year after year they do the same thing. And you know, at the end of the day, it doesn't take a rocket scientists to see that they're just protecting their cash cow. But we need to continue moving forward. And we encourage them to participate, and we'll wait for them when they do. The beautiful thing about this kaupapa is once it's been executed, it sends a message out to our people throughout the north. And people have already started to huri their whakaaros. But to do it en masse, to see us challenging, not even challenging, but us putting our mana on top of crown mana in a space where they can't hide it, that's huge. That really is huge. I really encourage everyone to see just how significant that impact will have on the whakaaros of not just our own, but everybody that live in this country. We can no longer hide it. That's the whole point of exposing the truth.
Well, I want to make it clear, understanding as to what my understand. And when we talk about the colour, we're simply talking about the colour being raised on the other side without any effort, okay? Bottom line. And that is why I think you're going to find when you look at it, hey, the more and more out come the old people who said, hey, kore wai, kanori ki kanori o mana ki mana. And that's where we now go back to Ohu Taumātua Kuia, Waitangi for that. Now, I can see what was asked,
Mm.
I could see the protocols, and I could not see them not saying yes, because it's been there before. It's been there before.
My opinion was also another one they've done, but that was under a different kaupapa. Unfortunately, Hana could die before he could execute the other government. Because it was actually my media that turned around and said that Turi Whenua, Māori Land Act, was only abridging to use until our people got the accident. It wasn't actually our forever thing, which people are trying to make it to be.
So you know, what I'm saying is what we're asking, I suppose, as an understanding is, because the final questions will come back to why don't we got to say here?
Oh,
That'll eventually come to that, hey, they'll say, well, why don't you know, what you got to say about all these things?
if you have a look, well, you can't have it this time, but I will get your email so that you can be included in the mātauranga that's been pushed out, and all the notices that have been gone out to make people aware of what's going on, so that there's not only a paper trail, but a kānui ki te kānohi huis have taken place to ensure that every kaupapa that we do is done in the pursuit of peace. It is done with the knowledge and understanding of every party.
Because what I'm saying is at the end of it all, the beautiful thing that was coming through as we saw it
Yep.
was the possible proclamation. Okay? To show the rest of the world, hey, that we had the authority.
And that proclamation is exactly what we execute. That was telling the world what we're doing. And we need to tell everybody. Can't just turn up and do it and not be seen as a radical party. We have to expose everything to the people, be transparent about what we're doing, show that we're doing it in the pursuit of peace, and ensure that we speak to the relevant parties, including the Ahika, of both Waitangi, Paihia, and Kororareka. Because you don't do things in someone else's office without the name of
There's
it.
never been anything in my 86 years that I've heard, hey, whatever comes out of Kororareka, or whatever comes out of but what comes off Waitangi is important.
Alright, so Waitangi, Kororareka is a recognised post for
I understand what
the
Kororareka
US
is.
and British navies. They reckon that was the space. You need to keep over here is political space. Over here is a military space. Down there is a spiritual space. It's the way because Ahika congregate over here at the bottom. And so the Ahika have agreed to fly to Kara. Kororareka is still still to get the feedback from them. But Waitangi has been given the tautoko by the Ahika and the Navy, waiting for a response from the Hui on Tuesday by the Waitangi National Trust Board. So the Navy didn't actually say, we give you tautoko, they said we will not intervene.
What is the Navy gonna do? They're gonna...
So they actually have a proclamation. They have
One down solution, it has to be...
they have a constitution. They have a constitutional agreement with the Marae Trust. They created a charter for the Navy to act and be present in Taitoke. Now that's a usurp of hapu mana.
Well, the Army and the Navy are the only ones that belong to the Crown anyway, that can come and help people. Like our people, when you get those down, the Navy and the Army are the only ones that are allowed to come and help us. No one else.
Oh,
Not the police. No, they can, but they need to visit under the LAW, they're supposed to mention it on the side.
The thing that needs to be in our possession is the authority. If the authority is not in our possession, then the assumption that they can still enforce legislation and legislative processes upon us, including the agreement with freedom of them, they'll get the police into that.
If that's the key thing, the authority,
Yes.
what are we waiting for?
Well, we're waiting to, well, we're not waiting, we're waiting for the 29th to happen so that we can agree about how we're going to say it, who's going to address the people and the processes of it. The other part to it is they'll be on Tuesday to ensure that the last groupings give their protocol so that the actions that we choose to engage in and execute are done unmolested. And that everybody, party to Wakaminina, understand that this is a kaupapa, a peaceful kaupapa. This is not a kaupapa protest. It's not a protest. This is not a go and get angry. You don't need to get angry.
I've got to say that the Wakamina has never been a protesting organisation.
No.
It's only the other side that's taking that road.
Oh,
So, you know, after listening to everybody's quarterly, we've already put into place the proclamation 2010 to the Pope, the Queen, Governor General, Prime Minister, and all concerned. 2022, we put the Constitution in the North and the South Island paper. That's what you're talking about. Total authority on the Hakaminenga in identifying and notifying those that need to be notified. Done. And that was an exempt, I mean, that was quite a lot of money. It was done, and it took us 22 weeks to get to that decision. So it's been acknowledged, it's been put in place. What we did was because we used to hui at Waitangi, the Whakaminenga, o mātou, ngā kau mātou. We used to hui there every year. We were abused as the rangatira of this country, Kaumātua, for 32 years. We've established it. Our Kaumātua, the Hedewini Karakatuni Maru Battalion, took the role. And we had the Wakaminenga acknowledged and total by Ngā Puhi, Tai Tokerau. We weren't worried about anybody but our people here first, because we couldn't get it over the line. It just went too wide, and it stayed like that forever. Become regurgitation. The same thing for years and years. And that's what we kept on saying. The LAW side of our people, somebody's collecting. Whoever those collectors are, stop it. It's the money versus mana. LORE is the mana. LAW is the money.